Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And just when you think it can't get any worse, it gets worse. It gets more perverse. It gets more sick and disgusting. If you have read anything about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's connection to these two prolific sexual predators, you've got to be brain dead to not be disgusted by it. I don't know what's wrong with America right now. I don't know what the fix is, but something is really wrong when the key officials in the Trump cabinet are having a strategy session over how to deal with sexual predators who have been convicted of some of the most heinous crimes out there. Like, how much worse could it be? And now you're having a strategy session, and we know what the strategy you're looking for is how to protect Donald Trump. Because John Doe 174 is in there as well. All right, let's talk with my resident white professional. Brock Ganeles joins us now. Two men in black and white and honest conversation. That's what we call it. Brock, honestly, from the white side of America, is anybody okay with this? I can't imagine anyone is.
No, I think people are okay with it. I think it becomes a hierarchy of importance, and power outweighs the strife. That was the torture, so to speak, that was put on others. But it gets back to means to an ends, right? Like, okay, that was a negative that happened, but we gotta barrel through it because we're playing a bigger game here, and that bigger game is how are we gonna reshape America? And they're playing the white supremacy game. So, you talk to women, and women are like, since when does America care about the plight of young women? Like, they're not surprised. So white women aren't surprised that, we're two men in black and white. I can't imagine that black women would be either. America just overlooks what's going on, what went on with young girls. They were taken advantage of, like so many.
Yeah, I have a problem with that because think about all these sensational cases involving white women. The most recent for me being Gabby Petito. I watched the Netflix special, which was actually pretty good and pretty disturbing as well, with people turning a blind eye to what was going on with her. They could have saved, those officers could have saved.
Yeah, could have saved a bunch of times.
Yeah. But see, I'm looking at it from the news business and 30 years in TV news. When a white woman goes missing, it's all hands on deck, right? Now a white woman, many, many white women have been taken advantage of and abused in the most horrific way. And we're kind of sitting by saying, not even the press is really putting the full court pressure on. And that's what shocks me. Having been in TV news for almost 30 years, watching the newsroom scurry about when a white woman is missing and a white woman's word taken for it. What was Susan Smith? Black guy, stole my car and my kids. Every black guy in South Carolina was a suspect.
Yeah.
Right? So, think about what OJ and Nicole did to us as a society, right? We were already starting to fray.
Yeah, but he got away with it. Okay, I'm going to get more cynical. I'm going to go further down this path. Okay? Because I've had a cynicism on the blind eye to power, and then I'll tie this into religion. Okay, let's go a step further. How has America or the world, basically overlooked all the pedophilia in the Catholic Church for our entire lifetime? And I've wondered about it my entire lifetime. I was like, these are white boys very often, right? Not even girls, right? White boys getting molested left and right throughout the country. I never understood how it was overlooked, right? It made me so negative on Catholicism, right? I'm sorry to say. It has, and I know they've tried to clean it up, right? And it took 40 years. Yeah, there were a couple of movies made 5 or 6 years ago, right? But there's still a story out right now about a priest who got redeployed, even though he was like convicted of pedophilia. Okay, so he got moved to a different job. He's in a different location. Like the church is still covering that shit up. Covering up of atrocities by powerful people is kind of been the way of the world that I've seen my entire life. So is it that surprising that people in power and have proximity of power want to sweep this under the rug because it would hurt them if it came out? Not that surprising to me. And I look at the Republican Party. Sorry, I don't even want to get political. I don't care about, this is not a democratic statement, but, the Republican Party has a lot of close ties to Christian evangelicalism. Mm-hmm. You've seen a lot of those pastors getting nabbed on different kinds of random charges. Like they're looking to lower, Utah's looking to lower the age of consent to 13 because some relative of like a state senator is in trouble for having sex with a 14-year-old, so he's trying to get the law changed to 13. So you just see this shit go on all the time in all different places. So I'm just looking at this as almost like a Catholic Church attempted to cover up because they got to maintain power, and right now Trump is that person in power, so he's the one that has to be protected. That's my view on it. So I think it sucks, but it does. I'm not that fucking surprised. I'm pissed, and I wish that more people cared more and that the story would matter. But I don't know. I mean, you use the Nicole Brown Simpson example. Okay, she ended up dead. And then OJ became the story. And then police malfeasance became the story. And then his innocence became the story. And then that's it. And she's still dead, right?
Was he innocent?
I mean,
I don't think he was innocent.
Not, but it became an indictment on the LA Police Department. It became about great lawyering, and it became about a statement, right?
And I don't want to get off the subject, but Journey to Justice by Johnny Cochran. If you read his book, you get some really good insight on how they came up with their whole defense of OJ. It's a really good read. Journey to Justice, you could probably get it on Amazon.
Yeah, brilliant. Of course it was brilliant. In my mind, they got a guilty man off, great lawyering.
That's a skill. That's a talent. But you just shattered, my whole thesis. And
I'm going to make you feel like shit again? Yeah, I'm going to tell you, white men are going to bully their way through this, and Trump is already starting to distract QAnon, and they're losing their steam, and this and that, and he's going to just plow his way through this because he can lie better than anyone on the planet, and we've given him so much power. And all the people behind him who, if they turned on him, they could bury him.
Right.
Won't do it. They're afraid to do it. They're afraid to do it. Marjorie Taylor Greene is the most likely person to do it, right? One of the wackos, like Greene or Boebert or someone who's way out there, is the most likely to do it.
Right. My next point was going to be the numbers of young ladies, young girls that were victimized. But you just shattered that whole point, with the Catholic Church. And with what happens time after time, and there is no accountability. Why are we so afraid to hold white America accountable for it? And then we'll turn around and say, well, let's take slavery out of the history books. Let's remove, all this stuff that has to do with what was done, to black. That stuff's not important. Why are we so afraid to hold white America? Because now, you know what? If those young kids in Little Rock were brave enough and old enough to experience racism, why aren't the same age kids right now old enough and experienced enough to learn about what was done to those kids and what they were forced to suffer under and the kinds of atrocities that Black America was dealt for nearly 400 years? Why don't we talk about why does 1619, an amazing book by Hannah Nicole Jones, why did that create such a stir among white America because it was about accountability. What is white America's problem with accountability? Because they want to hold black America accountable and brown America accountable for coming into the country illegally, for selling dope in the hood, right? For welfare, right? For poor schooling and poor education. If we're going to hold segments of the population accountable, why can't we hold the entire population accountable? Go.
White America doesn't want to go down that route. But Mark, what sits in my head all the time, I'm thinking about that quote I read the other day when that DHS guy who was like a white supremacist, when he talked about like that final line where he said like, oh, we don't want, this is America. It's a white country. It's a white Christian country, and it's a country built for our advantage.
Yeah.
And it's that sentiment, and it even gets me to thinking had me thinking about myself, because I've even gone in the comments of our posts, right? And right. I tend not to read it, and I tend to like just kind of laugh and,
right.
I know you're supposed to engage, but some of it's such crazy shit, right? Do you really want to engage with it? Like life's too short to engage on some of it. But you see how often people don't want to engage in facts. They just want to engage in like taglines and blurbs, right? So like I get called out like for virtue signaling. I don't even fucking know what the term means. But I think my understanding is maybe it's like, oh, you're saying some things to try to make yourself feel good, this and that. So it gets me around to this. It gets me around to like, I don't have some great affinity and love for black people any more than I have great affinity and love for Latinos, or great affinity and love for Native Americans, or great affinity and love for LGBTQ Americans, or great affinity and love for white Americans, right? Like, I don't say this negatively. I don't care, right? Like, I don't care. So, but I think where I'm an outlier in the white community is that I actually want America to be fair and equal.
Right.
And reading that quote, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. That's not the way most people in white America think. They're not looking for America to be equal, a land of equal opportunity, a land of fairness, a land of liberty and justice for all. They actually don't buy all that shit that's written in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and all that shit. Like, they don't buy it. I actually buy it. I just want an even playing field. Let's have an even playing field for everyone. Like sports. I always say, like sports. Boom. Get out on the court. As long as the refs are fair, let's just go play. Let's see who's better today. That's why sometimes pickup games are better than games with refs, right? Because there's, you just gotta figure it out amongst yourselves, right? So, and then it becomes a game of honor, right? If you call too many fouls and that's how you win, like the other, you kind of lost face, and then, you lose respect. So maybe you win, but you gain no respect. But I feel like the way, I guess I've come to this, finally, at my advanced age, this understanding that really much of white America looks at this as a place where they should be advantaged.
Right.
Not equal. And anytime things are equal, then they feel like something's been taken away from them because they're starting at advantage. And that's why that quote, like, freedom's, privilege. When you don't have privilege, you feel like it's taken away from you, right? When you've had it your whole life, like freedom. That's why that woman at the Walmart probably would have been mad even if she had the exact same amount of shit in her cart as the black woman, because not less enraged her. The same amount probably still would have pissed her off because she would have thought that she should have more.
Right.
And all these things kind of tie together in where the mentality of the nation is. And it's just that mentality is really behind Project 2025. It is certainly Donald Trump's mentality, and it's seeping its way through every aspect of American life.
Right.
Now you go.
Right. But see, where does that come from? Again, my parents never taught us that, Brock. And my parents grew up in the segregated South, in a place where you had to look first before you drank from the water fountain, in a place where you had to look first before you went to the bathroom to take a piss, right? In a place where you had to go around. When my dad's college baseball team was riding around the South, playing college baseball, as college students couldn't get served in the front of the restaurant, had to go around the back and get their food to go.
Well, maybe when people have advantage, right? So your parents are fighting for equality, right? They're just trying to ask for a level playing field, give me some opportunities, and let me, my hard work and talent, get me somewhere to a better life. White people maybe are already starting with the advantages. They don't want that gap to close, right? So they're not really going to promote that equality because they want that edge. So if you're born into that, you're kind of always worried about losing it. And that's maybe where the changing demographics in the country kicked in, and the concern about political power going away. And maybe that's like, you know, really what underpins and is the ethos underneath where white America stands. They feel like they're losing things all the time. Maybe that's what Trump tapped into. People losing, you know, like I like to call it the social hierarchy. So it's not always just what's in your bank account. It's sort of like where you feel you stand in society. It's whether your cart has as much in it as the other person. And if you feel like you deserve to have more, then you're going to be angry anytime you see someone, you know.
Well, it's like the whole incident with my dad trying to buy a car. How can you afford to buy this car and I can't? The fuck is that? What kind of question is that?
That salesman didn't even want to sell him the car, even though he probably would have got a commission on it, right? So in essence, he acted not in his best interest, which you see all the time from white people, right? He didn't act in his best economic interest. His best economic interest was to sell the car and take the commission. Move up, you know, move up the ranks, be a better salesman. But he didn't want that. But that didn't make him feel good. He didn't even want that black guy to have that car. Fuck that black guy. He's got to go somewhere else to get a car. I'm not selling to that black guy. I don't know how the fuck he has that money and thinks he can come in here and buy one of these nice cars. So you see it. That was like a small instance of a white person working, quote, against their best interests. But as I've argued since the first podcast, that's not against his best interests. It's the social hierarchy people carry stronger in their minds than the economic, which is why I'm so big on the culture wars, because I think the culture wars is where it's at. That's society. That's how society operates. Yeah, we all, you know, money drives a lot of things, but not everything.
Right. And you know, until we fix this culture war, and we cannot fix it with this guy in office. No. So there's no way, because we can't have a rational and reasonable conversation with this fucking clown. And then we turn around this morning and I woke up and I looked to see the headline of, you know, the Trump administration removing, you know, parts of the Constitution just arbitrarily. We just ripped it out of the fucking Constitution like we have the right to do it.
Yeah, to do that. We don't like it. That's inconvenient. It's getting in the way of our power grab, so we're just going to erase it. So it's not even just like now moving pictures and headstones out of the Oval Office, right, and pretending like people didn't exist, right? Now it's just deciding. It's picking and choosing. It's like people do with religion, picking and choosing which parts of the scripture they're going to go ballistic over. Like, oh, you know, being gay is a sin. Oh, really? Where's that in there? Oh, okay, now we're reading it word by word. Okay, now let's read the whole book and see all the other sins in there. No, they're just gonna, you know, they're gonna cherry pick what they want. And Trump and his team are just cherry picking the Constitution, because when they can't get away with it based upon how they interpret the words, right? Now they're going next level and just deleting the words.
Right. And here's what I saw today, which really caught my attention. Habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to use to remove people from this country, which is effectively the opposite of what habeas corpus means. Like Christy Nome said that. Habeas corpus gives you the right to challenge your detention. I mean, what? Like, see, and here's the thing, bro. People will hear habeas corpus was removed from the Constitution and not bother to hit the Google machine, because we're dumb now. We have dumbed down America to 140 characters thanks to, you know, moronic, your boy Elon. You know, now people are using his Grok AI to ask him questions, you know, like that thing's not programmed to give you the white supremacy answer. You know, I mean, it's ludicrous how stupid we are. We are so stupid we let Donald Trump become president. That's how dumb we are as a society.
Twice. and had 4 years to digest it and know exactly who he is, and had him trigger an insurrection the first time to try to keep him in there,
Yep.
and voted him back in. So it's what the country wants. But yeah, oh yeah. So this is why JD Vance can get a bunch of cronies together, and they can try to figure out a plan to save Donald Trump from his, atrocities, right? And this is why Texas can think that they can, in essence, change the rules and draw maps that advantage themselves. I mean, you just go down, you can just go down a list of, they're talking about taking over Washington, D.C., right? So first they talk about it, they lob it out there, get the outrage out of the way, and then just slowly but surely implement the policy anyway, where after the outrage has cooled down. So they really play on our lack of attention span and our lack of paying attention, and very often people's lack of understanding or taking the time to understand what's even being taken from them.
Right. And again, we're so busy with our heads in our phones, tagging people on Instagram and making TikTok videos and, watching the latest fucking, Ozark episode, that most people don't have a clue that the democracy is basically gone at this point. It is basically slipped out of our hands and out of our grasp. We don't have a democracy anymore, bro. Not when the president can walk on the roof, right, and shout out the fact that I'm trying to build nuclear missiles. Trying to build nuclear missiles. I'm allowed to do it. Like, this guy is walking around just making shit up. Right? Trying to wag the dog to get us off the Trumpstein files. And there's nobody fighting him.
No, that's the problem. But the people, we haven't protest. Jasmine Crockett called people out yesterday because she was like, yeah, these these Texas lawmakers apparently are going to have to stay in Chicago at least through year end in order to not allow for a quorum on the gerrymandering, maybe even longer. And she's like, are the people going to support them? Like, they're going to be away on, call it a vacation, but like a hiatus.
And who wants to do that, bro? Who wants to be moved from their home, right?
Yeah, they got kids, they have families, they have jobs. Plus, they barely get paid to be state senators, right? So they're not going to have money. So the question is, are the people of Texas, in this case, going to stand up? Are there going to be protests? Is there a fight? Is there, where is there a fight in America? And it seems like we're taking the summer off, right? Because it's already August 6th, and there's been nary a rustling.
Not a blip on the radar screen after July 4th, right? After the King's Day parade, Obama Appreciation Day, what was that, June 14th? We haven't heard anything.
Yeah, July 4th was nothing. You had Trump's absurd, military parade that sucked, but there hasn't been a strong counter protest on any topic. And yeah, so we're just taking it right now. And Trump's, we keep pointing out he's in decline. Everyone notices it, even his own people notice it. But he's still out there running around with all the power, right? We can acknowledge that he's a lunatic, but he still has all the power.
Yep. And all the Looney Tunes to go along with him, which is the scary part about Trump 2.0. Now he's just, deleting shit from the Constitution, right? How much longer until he just starts locking up his political enemies? I mean, that's coming. It'll probably come right around the time we don't have the 26 midterms.
Yeah,
right?
He just knows something like that could trigger protests. So like Trump's with his survival skills, or the people behind him are smart enough to let him just do all this bombast and lob shit out there while they just slowly, quietly get shit done behind the scenes. And, try not to do anything too big in any one day to trigger a protest. So keep slowly but surely it's kind of, they're getting 3 and 4 yards at a time and they're just grinding it out. and just working their way down the field until they have everything. But they're just taking. And now, like you said, taking away pieces of the Constitution that they don't like along the way.
Right. I don't like to give them that much credit, but then again, it's not Donald Trump and his, minions. It's the heritage.
Project 2025 guys. They have a plan, and they had a plan, and they've been working on their plan for years, just like Leonard Leo did with the court system, right? He was patient enough and smart enough to just keep working at it over time and chip away and chip away and chip away. So Project 2025 is behind the scenes taking shit away. I mean, you saw Kennedy, he's a fucking lunatic. It took away funding for mRNA vaccines. $500 million. We're just going to be a less healthy country, right? We're just more likely to die in the future because we've decided that we're anti-science, as well as anti-intellectual, as well as anti-climate change. We're dumbing down society, and we're letting a handful of people enrich themselves and a small percentage run all the shit. But the rest of us are sitting here. We're kind of like, fish in a barrel, right? We're easy targets.
Yep. And now let me ask you this. The stress on Trump over these Trumpstein files has got to be unlike anything he's ever seen before. COVID, he beat that. He beat it because they've got the best medical professionals in the world working at the White House, obviously. But the stress from those two impeachments, and now I'm thinking the stress of these deportations, and these constitutional fights that he wants to engage in, along with the Trumpstein files. At what point does the cholesterol get him? Now, let's say it gets him midway, right? In 26 at some point, and he falls, passes. Are we in better shape or worse?
We're in better shape because at least we wouldn't have a fucking raging psychopathic lunatic running the show. But we'd still have big problems, right? And we probably would have, probably smarter people would step into a bunch of roles because Trump's now surrounded himself with the worst of the worst. So we'd probably get more effective and efficient people, but you still got to get the nuclear codes out of the hands of a fucking raging lunatic just so we can fight on different terms. But it's still going to be a fight. I understand your point behind it, which gets us back to J.D. Vance, right? Because power would fall into his fucking lap. How hard is he fighting with that task force to protect Trump?
Right.
Right. Is his heart really in it? Or is he patient enough to say, okay, this is coming my way? Or he would like Trump to get trounced in office so that he could get promoted, because he might not be necessarily the candidate the party would go with going forward, right? But hey, if Trump dies, he gets the brass ring the easy way. Yeah. So I don't know. He might want extra stress on Trump. I just wonder what will come out of, who gets invited to this meeting that he calls, and what kind of genius those jokers come to. Because getting out of crazy situations, there's probably no one in world history better than Trump, because he's a pathological liar. He doesn't even live in reality, so he can just say shit with total conviction and no conscience that no one else can do. The rest of us have a tell. we just can't lie as easy as he does.
Right.
So he is his own best spokesman and always has been. But, we'll see what JD comes up with. We know JD secretly wants him to keel over.
Oh, yeah. And look, I don't think that J.D. Vance is smart at all. I'm not a fan. I've never liked him. Here's a guy who was a flip-flopper, classic flipper.
Yeah.
He's just a flipper. Couldn't stand on his own 2 feet, couldn't keep 10 toes down, to stand by his true feelings about Donald Trump. And because, he's an ambitious little shit, he said, I don't feel so bad about Trump. I'll take this because I want to be something else. There's no way he fucking becomes president without Trump falling over dead. I can't see it. I think America can see right through, his fragility, man. The guy has zero moral compass and, zero cojones when it comes to standing up and being a true leader. Again, leadership, there's a huge leadership void in the Republican Party. The only thing that gets them going, or the protectors of pedophiles, is that they stay on message. right? They always win the war of the message. And that's what keeps them running. It's not about the leadership with them. It's about messaging. And they
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you on that front, like apparently there a whole bunch of operatives are going at Joe Rogan and trying to get him to stop talking about the Epstein thing. And there must be something going on with Fox News and Murdoch, right?
Yeah.
Because that shit went in the Wall Street Journal. That's the last. We haven't heard much from them since then. There was the battle over Trump suing Murdoch. That's kind of got backburnered, so they've done some sort of backroom deal
the deposition
between the two of them, right? The depositions have gone away, the lawsuit went away, but also the stories about Epstein have gone away also, and Fox Properties. So, you know, they're going to pull out everything they have to suppress the story, and Trump may well ride it out, and we'll just, have to see how crazy the QAnon crowd is. Like, do they just hang on to it, or does some genius come up with new red meat for them to chase, and they just go running in a different direction, which is what I think these meetings are about. Like, how do we get these crazies to just chase something else?
Right. Good luck with that. Because we talked about this last week. This is what it is for them. Right? They got nothing else if this dies. Right? So they got to stick with it. So, all right, quick hits. You got something for me?
No, I think we're good for today. I think
we're good. We're good.
I don't know if we're quote good for today, but no, I think we've had our daily dose of disappointment for today. Right? We have the Constitution being stripped away. We have Trump's whole team rallying to figure out how to suppress the Epstein story and put that away. We have all the Texas representatives in Chicago with bomb scares going on, and they have to hide out for 6 months, but no people actually supporting them yet. So they're sort of still out there on their own. And we have Project 2025 taking away, we have Kennedy taking away our future of vaccines so that we'll die next time COVID comes around. And, we lost more ground against the MAGA world again today.
All right. Well, wow. That makes me want to jump off a bridge. Nice wrap up.
That was today. Wednesday. August
today.
8th. That was today.
Happy hump day.
Nice summer day. Just a nice summer day.
Always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend.
All right, Mark. Good to speak to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Let's hope so.